Welcome to the Gold Podcast, news and commentary from Gun Owners Action League, your leading voice for the Massachusetts gun owner.
I'm Jeff, across the table, Garrett.
Here we are. You know, actually back in studio now. Like just the two of us. It's kind of weird. It occurs to me that it's been like a good while since it was just the two of us. We've had guests on, and of course 4420 blew up, and you know, so it's maybe good to take a second. Obviously the focus of this episode is going to be 4420, but maybe we can take a moment and remember that there's a wide world out there. There's other stuff going on. Speaking of stuff going on, check out gold.org. We just got word that Jim and the folks have confirmed an event to take place on Sunday, August the 27th in Quincy. Details are still coming out, but it's looking like kind of an indoor rally with speakers, food, bar, that kind of stuff. Check out gold.org for details. The details will be coming out. I imagine they'll be pretty well firmed and out by the time this podcast publishes.
Yeah, I would expect it in the Friday news at least.
Good stuff. What's going on with you otherwise? I mean, we've seen a lot of each other, but
it's been a busy summer. You know, just finishing up on all the training stuff, and then I took a fair bit of time off in July. Yes, you were gonna take the whole month off, as I recall. I'm taking a month off, he says. I'm not doing nothing gun related in July. Well, not to say that I didn't do anything gun related. But no, I wasn't teaching any classes. I wasn't taking any classes. You know, I mean, you're aware of how often that, you know, the days get filled up and how quickly they fill up.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I took a little time off.
Tried to take July off, and then, you know.
And then 4420 dropped. And then it was, you know, back to all hands on deck. But, you know, got a little bit of golf in.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know people say it's a waste of a totally perfect rifle range, but I haven't seen anyone put together a rifle range that looks like a golf course. So,
right. You can combine those two
until
somehow.
you prove the concept.
You got to combine those two somehow.
It's still launching stuff at other stuff.
Aim is still important. What is it? Mark Twain says that golf is a good walk wasted. Anyway, here we are. So that's the goal event. So you had something for the Pink Pistols.
Yeah, not this Saturday, but the following. So second Saturday of the month is the Boston Pink Pistol Shoot. So this month it'll be on the 12th.
Yeah.
They're celebrating 7 years.
Nice.
7-year anniversary.
Right on.
So they tend to do a shotgun shoot for that one, and I'm going to take the soda can launcher down. I got 2 24-packs of Fanta orange soda that I got on sale.
Fanta orange, huh? Well, the ants are going to love you. So, this is going to happen at Harvard.
Yep, right
Nice.
at Harvard. So yeah, looking forward to it, and congratulations to them, 7th birthday.
Outstanding! Congratulations!
We're going to blow some cans out of the sky.
Good job, Aaron, for picking that up and like running with it and turning it into like a something. That's great. It's fantastic. So for details, what do? They got to check out BPP, their website, right? Boston Pink Pistols. They have a presence on Facebook, but I think that their primary means of communication is by email.
But you can reach them on Facebook. They use the Meetup application.
Yep, that's right.
But yeah, quick Google search.
Boston Pink Pistols. Google it and throw them your support. Congratulations. In news, let's talk a little bit about gun news outside of the state, because believe it or not, it does actually still bear on us.
Biden administration's cutting funding for like archery in schools.
So in interpreting the law from last year, it went into effect last year. I forget exactly what the law was. But it's basically the federal law passed by Congress last year that says that you can't use federal funds to teach kids how to use dangerous weapons.
Yeah, that was the part of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act.
Right. So when they call it bipartisan, it usually means that they had one person from the opposition sign on to it. So the Safer Communities Act says you can't use federal funding to teach kids how to use dangerous weapons. So Joe Biden, being the freedom-loving person that he is, his administration has interpreted that law to mean that schools that do hunter safety education, archery classes, things of that nature should have their federal funding stripped away.
Yeah, so they blocked funding earmarked under Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965 for schools with hunting and archery programs.
So decades of precedent, decades of all this stuff. Joe Biden is so anti-gun that he wants to remove safety training in the few places that it still exists.
So according to the administration, the amendment prohibits ESEA funds from helping provide any person with a dangerous weapon or to provide training in the use of a dangerous weapon.
Right.
They're saying that if
federal funding can't be
you
used.
teach archery, which is an Olympic sport, which kids get scholarships for.
And go to school and better their existence and, compete internationally and all that stuff. That's dangerous weapon. We can't possibly foster
bows
that.
and arrows.
Yeah.
Bows and arrows.
Bows and arrows. Yeah.
For all those drive-by arrowings.
It's disgusting because something like this shows me that the Biden administration, is actually going out of their way in order to
target
be
a culture of people.
Yeah, right. It was Aristotle. Aristotle said, give me the boy until he's 7 and I'll show you the man. Right? Make it so that kids have no exposure to or live in fear of guns. And then when they grow up and start voting, they'll start voting against Second Amendment rights. That's the plan.
Yeah. The idea that you would go out and hunt and provide something for yourself, for your family, is fundamentally somehow offensive to these people.
They've gone out of their way they're like bending over backward to interpret it in a way that's aggressive to people who want to do this stuff.
Yeah. They don't even want you to talk about hunting in schools anymore.
No. Or archery, for crying out loud. Yeah. Bows and arrows.
But that's that typical, the thing you're worried about isn't happening and you're crazy and a conspiracy theorist for saying it's happening.
Yeah.
And then a year later.
Actually, it really is happening.
It is happening, but it's actually a good thing. So,
the standard of denial.
It's great. And then 2 years from now, it'll be, how dare you even question the idea of giving a bow and arrow to a kid? Don't you know that's dangerous? So what we need to do is lock them in this building, not teach them to read or write, not teach them how the government works, not teach them how to balance a checkbook or sign a bank loan or anything like that.
Well, again, we can branch off into the whole libertarian podcast thing, but public schools are not designed to teach people how to think. They're designed to teach people what to think. And that's activism, not education.
Yeah. Well, that's
so
where,
anyway.
That's where I would argue that's where the parents need to come in and teach. As scary as this sounds, teach your children to question authority.
Yeah. That's a different podcast. I came across this piece, and let me give you some numbers. This is out of New York. Okay. 2021. Remember that? The dim and distant past of 2021.
Okay, so scroll it back. Full-blown covfefe.
Yeah. It was 2021, way back in those days. New York Police Department, NYPD, approved 56% of the 4,663 firearms permit applications. Okay.
Oh,
so that comes
higher
out
than I thought.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of surprised.
Well, remember the chilling effect there is that you don't apply, right? If the desk sergeant tells you you don't stand a chance, then that's not an application. So anyway, they approved 56% of them, which comes to a number of 2,591. Okay, in 2021. Let's fast forward to 2022 now, which is something rather large in 2022 happened with the Supreme Court.
Yeah, the Bruin decision.
The Bruin decision. So over the entire year, New York Police Department approved 21% of the 7,260 applications that were filed that year. So way more applications, and the rate of approval dropped precipitously. There was only 1,550 approvals. So before Bruin in 2022, NYPD fielded around 2,000 of those 7,000 plus applications. Okay. Post Bruin, that number doubled to the 5,000, right? So roughly 2,000 before Bruin, 5,000 after Bruin. But if you look at the after Bruin numbers of those 5,000 post Bruin applications, only 503 have been approved.
So 503 applications approved since last year?
No, in 2022.
Oh, okay.
After so the first half of 2022, okay, you get around around 1,000 approved. After Bruin, in the second half of the year, you get way more applications, but half as many approvals. Also, since only those 503 applications were approved, only 16 were actually denied. So what does that mean? That means that NYPD is accepting applications and sitting on them. They're not doing anything with them. That's actually in contravention to New York state law. They're not supposed to sit on them like that.
Well, of course not. Because a right delayed is a right denied.
Yeah. So it's interesting crunching the numbers that way. What it means clearly is that New York is still going out of their way to ignore what the Supreme Court said. Instead of saying, well, we're going to get rid of suitability and all that stuff. Instead, what they're doing is, well, we're just going to ignore your application. So, and that's apparently what's going on.
Well, I mean, but that was always their point, is just, we're going to deny you your rights. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they feel.
Yeah.
They feel that there's nothing you can do about it. But
well, I'm hoping that this will open them up to a civil rights challenge, because, I mean, it's New York state law says thou shalt process the application, whether it's an approval or a denial.
Which bears the question, when there's a mandate on government to provide some service, some time frame, whatever it may be, there's never really any downside.
Oh, come on. Everybody in Massachusetts gets their license within 40 days. You know that.
I mean, to be honest, some departments really aren't that bad.
No,
within
ITs,
within
but
a little
yes,
bit
you're
of,
right. You're
a little
right.
bit of wiggle room.
Yeah.
But
ITs, but yes, you're right. The vast majority, but there's always the obstinate outliers that want to be,
just say, we can't do this for 6 months.
Yeah, right. So
and
it's ridiculous.
It's a question that you get a lot in classes from students when you start explaining the timeline, the 40 days. Well, what happens after that?
Well,
nothing.
You continue to wait. I mean, you're welcome to sue them. You can give them a call.
Who are you going to call? The police?
Yeah. So good old New York. Hopefully it's going to open them up to a constitutional challenge. That'd be nice. Let's see. Also talking about Supreme Court. Let's talk about U.S. v. Rahimi. Are you up to date on this case?
This one's, it's an interesting one.
This is an interesting case.
So Rahimi was issued a civil restraining order. He got, ex-girlfriend pulled one against him in 2020. How true the claims weren't, I'm not sure.
Whatever. Doesn't matter.
For the purpose of this story, it's not particularly relevant.
Yeah.
But one of the provisions of the restraining order was that he could not possess firearms.
That's pretty typical, right?
So police investigating him on an unrelated issue, as unrelated as it may be.
Yeah, I actually haven't been able to find out what that suspicion was.
But found guns in his possession. So he was charged under USC 922G, the federal law that prohibits those subject to restraining orders from possessing firearms.
Yep.
So Rahimi's, obviously appealed it and went all the way up to the Fifth Circuit, arguing that that particular law is unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. A Fifth Circuit panel upheld the federal law, but while the petition for rehearing was still pending, the Bruin decision dropped.
Yeah, so the timing is like really weird on this one. You had an initial decision, but then in between, while they're going back to the en banc read, for the en banc hearing or the re-arguing, suddenly Supreme Court drops this thing in everybody's lap.
There's the play at the plate. Ump made a call, and now they're going to the tape. But post Bruin, the Fifth Circuit panel withdrew its opinion.
Right.
So the case ended up going back in front of the Fifth Circuit, got re-argued, and the federal law was struck down under the new Bruin guidelines.
Right. This is the whole text history and tradition thing. Yep.
Right. So now the federal government appealed the decision to the Supreme Court, who agreed at the end of June to hear the case. So it's actually should be upcoming this fall.
Right. Should be coming probably the end of the fall or into the fall, and we'll probably get a decision before the end of the term in next June. So,
but interesting that it's not a citizen, it's not a private entity, it's not a business bringing a claim against the government. It's the government that's asking for a Supreme Court hearing.
Yeah.
to
And
uphold their stuff.
That actually, you know what? I love me a 2A win as much as everybody else does, but that very reason is what gives me like pause over this case, because I've been doing some reading and, you know, doing my own little tea leaves and stuff, and I don't really want to be like a downer about it, but I'm not getting a warm and fuzzy feeling about this case because of the fact that the Supreme Court took the case so rapidly, right? Instead of just choosing to let a Pro 2A win stand, I don't think bodes well. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But the way that I'm reading this is like, you know, the Supreme Court says, no, we need to address this. And then you have to couple that with the fact that this guy, Rahimi, is not really a sympathetic character. I mean, he's a subject of an RO.
Right.
You know, under suspicion of domestic abuse and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and either way,
he's not the
even if
poster
that-
child for your 2A cause.
Even if that restraining order was garbage,
It was baloney.
it's still a binding document that says, hey, you
Exactly.
are not supposed to be in possession of these things.
Exactly. So what does this mean? It means that the
it's-
Supreme Court is either A, going to have to uphold the Fifth Circuit decision under Bruin's, you know, text, history, and tradition test, and basically rule in essence that the Founding Fathers would have been A-OK with somebody, you know, possessing guns.
Well,
as
potential
a-
like domestic abusers.
Right.
And, you know.
That the Founding Fathers would have said, yes, those guys can totally have guns too. Or they're going to have to rule B, they're going to have to overturn the standing Second Amendment win, right? Because right now we're in a positive position. They would have to overturn that and then basically say that it's okay for the government to prohibit guns to certain disfavored classes without having been convicted of a crime.
Yeah. Now, I'm
And
not.
that's disturbing to me.
I'm not sure what the argument is going to be. I would assume their argument is going to be somewhere around the idea that the burden of proof to get a restraining order is so much less for a criminal conviction that they really didn't get a fair due process to have their civil rights taken away.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be their argument.
I hope so.
You know,
I don't know how solid that feels in this case, though. You know, and
well,
it
it's
just-
never it never feels good when you have, you know, that the client that you don't really like.
Yeah, well,
Even if you think something on principle is right and correct or wrong or whatever it may be,
yeah,
you know, principles are difficult to stand by when it's not convenient. So
yeah. So I don't know how they're going to go with it. There is a way that they can rule on this, and it's maybe they're taking it just so that they can take the opportunity to like clarify all this stuff regarding Bruin and saying, no, we actually meant what we said last year. Or I don't know, man. I wish I had a better feeling about it. That's all.
yeah, I'm just again nervous that
Yeah,
the
right.
government is
Why are
asked
they
for
taking
this,
it so
and-
fast? Why is it right? Yeah. So
which
I don't
just
know.
stands to prove, you know, when the people want something, it's slow and it's grinding and it's
Yeah, right. We'll hear your taste. You'll
when
hear it
the-
in 10 years.
when the preferred when the
elites.
insider needs something.
The elites.
Oh God, I hate
man.
that word.
So did you hear this? Matthew McConaughey.
Oh
actor.
yeah.
Matthew
No,
McConaughey.
I saw this on the rounds.
He's finally solved all of the problems from the gun control crowd.
All kidding aside, not the dumbest thing he's ever said. What
Okay, but
I
that's a
see
high
where
bar
he's-
for that guy, though.
I see where he's coming from, and no joke, I think this is what the gun control crowd's going to do. I absolutely think that
it's still ridiculous.
started something
though.
right
so
there.
he decided that instead of gun control, that those people on that side of the argument should rebrand what they're saying and call it gun responsibility.
Oh, of course. Just the way they rebranded semi-automatic rifles into assault weapons.
Yeah, right. If you can't if the facts regarding the concepts don't match up with your narrative, then you just change the words.
Never let the truth get in the way of a good story. But yeah, talking about pivoting from gun control to gun responsibility. And in his...
But see, the
I gotta
problem is,
say, I really don't disagree with his logic.
I don't
is
disagree
that-
with the logic but he's not thinking about it the same way that you and I think about gun
Obviously.
responsibility.
But he's saying that, you know, when you tell somebody it's control, the natural human response is do not control me. I
Well-
want individual autonomy. That's the entire basis of our culture.
Well, yeah.
It used to be leave me the hell alone, and now it's leave me alone, but let me decide everybody else's business.
Right.
But yeah, he's saying a full rebrand into calling it gun responsibility because even Even that like that word polls better with firearms owners.
Yeah.
And again,
but
it's
again,
rebranding so that you look like the jerk for saying anything against it. It's like when
right,
they
well,
put
this common sense, right? If you disagree with my common sense measures, it means you don't have common sense.
well, that's why they
right?
roll. That's why they roll kids out there as their spokespeople. Because how dare you?
Yeah, you can't
know,
possibly gainsay with this. Yeah. So
Of course.
anyway, Matthew McConaughey, the new voice of the
yeah.
anti-gun crowd.
To that I say, a turd by any other name still stinks.
Oh, Sig Sauer. So last week, a little bit ago, on Monday, July the 24th, Montville, Connecticut police officer reported that his duty P320 discharged without him having pulled the trigger.
Is this the video that was going around
Yes.
online?
Yeah, very
I
recently.
saw this one too.
Okay, so the incident was reported in the news. It's been all over social media and so forth. So SIG responded to the news reports and asked the police department to send the gun to them for testing. But the police department declines. Why? I don't know. But SIG offered to help the investigation. Police department said, nah, we're good. SIG did download the video from social media and go through it basically, frame by frame. And they came to their own conclusions. One of which was that the P320 was not fully secured in the officer's Safariland holster. Okay. That the discharge seemed to happen right when the officer collided with another one while he was making the arrest in the video. So that's what SIG came back with. They're like, well, yeah, of course it might go off on its own because it wasn't fully holstered and you went, colliding with some other dude. So,
I'm not buying that answer from SIG whatsoever.
well,
I have Safariland holsters. I know how they work. And even if it wasn't in the holster secured, it went off when somebody bumped it.
well, I think
That's the entire...
I think the argument here is that something got in the trigger when it was not fully secured in the holster.
And they saw that from where?
From the video that was posted.
Because
All right.
Safariland makes
okay.
see-through holsters. Like, come on.
Let's also be honest, and ask the question. Listen, I'm not coming down on SIG's side here, right? I'm not part of their thing. They don't send me paychecks or anything. Yeah. But at the same time, why wouldn't the police department want SIG to be involved in an investigation if they thought there was something physically wrong with the guns?
Because they know how an internal investigation works.
Yeah,
if there's anybody that would understand you don't want the fox watching the hen house, it's the...
Well, what's to I don't know, what's to lose by sending him the gun,
Swapping parts out and saying, oh, there was nothing wrong with it? We didn't find anything wrong, and then all of a sudden, now it gets lost. We don't know. We put a new thing in it.
Well, I don't know. So SIG released their own statement. SIG's statement is, to me, it's interesting in that it went on to basically defend the history of the P320, saying, in part, despite years of litigation, quote, despite years of litigation and extensive fact-finding, no one has been able to recreate a scenario where the P320 could discharge without a trigger pull. And experts attempting to argue such a claim have consistently been dismissed from court as unqualified or unreliable. They also point out that in the 3 federal court cases filed, that's Frankenberry v. SIG, Mays v. SIG, and Hilton v. SIG, 2 of the experts who had their theories about unintended discharge were found to be unqualified. And the only case that actually has gone to trial, which is Guay v. SIG, Guay v. SIG, was found unanimously in favor of SIG. So they're standing on their litigation record. Does that argue for the safety of the guns or the efficacy of their lawyers? I don't know, but
doesn't seem to happen to Glocks. That's all I'm saying. No, and I say it like I have nothing against SIG overall. Like, I've owned SIG pistols. I love SIG pistols. The 320, I get nervous around them.
Hey, I don't know.
I saw the video.
I saw the video too, and I haven't taken it apart frame by frame. But, I can kind of see both sides of it. And there is, whether or not you believe the claims, SIG does have a point to stand on saying, hey, we wanted to help find out what was going on, and they said no. What do you want us to do? So... I don't know if that's where they're going to go with it. So I don't know if there's like a lawsuit forthcoming or not. But apparently the chief of police has already ordered 35 blocks for the department.
And I'm sure to be totally fair, once you get that reputation, I think you run into that that confirmation bias. So like every time a 320 goes off now, it's going to be on social media. It's going to be everywhere.
Right.
So
sure. Every time some idiot shoots himself in the leg with a P320, there's always going to be that lingering question of, oh, hey, man, it just went off all by itself. There's all kinds of stories about it in the news. So, oh, man, I don't know. All right. So
hey, if you're gonna get a SIG, get the 226 or the 229. None of these issues.
All right, let's swap to our main topic of the day, which of course is HD.4420. By way of updates, you can check out goal.org. Their resource page is goal.org/gunban. As of this recording, the current status of that bill or the proposed bill, is that it's on hold pending further action in the fall or after the August recess.
Yeah, it's kind of in this delayed but not delayed mode.
Yeah. There's no question that it's going to come back, but for right now, it's...
Oh, certainly. There were people that were kind of celebrating this as the win.
No, this is not the win.
No.
It's a win. It's a win, but it's not the win.
It's a very, very minor stemming of the flow. For a recap of the bill, you can go back to check out episode number 101, July 5th. That's the breakdown with Jim and John.
Yep.
But as of July 24th, Speaker Mariano said that the action would be delayed at least until the fall. And the next day, the Senate said they were working on their own version of a gun bill.
Who knows what that's going to be?
What that means, what that actually entails, who knows?
It's not going to be good, I can say that. But,
But the general gist was that, under such intense public outcry and public pressure.
Yes.
That when they went into the closed door sessions, there were a lot more questions than answers. And a lot of people that typically don't go on our side were almost arguing for our side.
Yes.
That's how...
Because even like the people on that side were like, "What the hell? You said this was going to be ghost guns and live fire training. What the hell is all this?"
And from what I've heard, Day and his office did not have really any answers for anybody.
Well, of course not, because they didn't write the bill.
But yeah, exactly. But to the extent where people are saying, "Hey, this is in your bill," and he says, "No, it's not," and they go, "It's right here."
It's like actually right here.
He didn't know.
He can't defend it. Yeah,
or at least
that's
is
disgusting.
Still claiming he didn't know.
Michael Day is a liar, and I try to maintain civility when even when talking about politicians, but this is ridiculous. So anyway, sorry.
So with the public outcry, with the disagreement from the Senate, with the disagreement in the House, they essentially said, well. They've said all along.
Mariano tried to save face.
They've said all along that if this met no resistance, this was going to be signed. Like this would have been signed into law by now.
Yeah, Maura Healey would have signed it by the time that this podcast episode
if no one had
releases. Yeah, if they had been able to sneak it through the way that they wanted to. Yeah. I mean, you and I and Goal and everybody would have been yelling and screaming about it. But if, I feel like I need to drive this point. If the 2A community here, Goal members, Second Amendment community, all the gun owners here, and there's more than 500,000 of us, had not raised their voices and done like the whole, let's get signs out there, let's start making phone calls and applying pressure, the likes of which I don't think the legislature has ever seen on something like this.
It's the biggest effort from the Second Amendment community, like collective effort that I've seen since I started doing the outreach.
I think and it's like it can't be overstated that it is the gun owner and the Second Amendment advocate that made this delay happen. They didn't decide to go on vacation early or something. This would have passed. It would be law today if not for the fact that people rose up and said, this is bullshit and we're not doing it.
Yeah, because I mean,
So-
we're recording this on August 1st, and they were going to have this done by
Yeah.
July 31st.
They're on break now.
So
anyway.
well, the legislators are on break. Their staff are still working. The aides are still in the office. So keep calling, keep writing, keep emailing,
Yep.
keep
Keep the pressure up,
contacting,
keep the pressure
up. But just to show, like, this to me is the genuine sleaze baggery of the legislature. Because the guy's saying that, hey, if we had no resistance, we were going to jam this thing through and it would have been signed into law.
Right.
by
No
now.
public
But-
hearing, no nothing. Yeah.
But since people have been, rather upset, now he's saying, "Oh, this is a first draft, and we're going to take it back for amendments. Don't worry about it." Like,
Wait. You care about your rights?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. We should probably pump the brakes on this for a second.
he's saying that this was a bare minimum first draft effort that they're going to go back and correct now,
Which is
while also
crap.
saying that we absolutely would have shoved this through, no questions asked.
Yeah, that line from Michael Day pisses me off more than, well, just as much as anything else that he said. First off, the whole listening tour thing was a sham. We know that. But the fact that he had the guts to post this bill and say, children are dying in our streets, we need to pass this right now. And then when people finally rise up and say, no, we're not doing this because it's unconstitutional and you can't do that.
And it doesn't
then
even
he's
do what
gonna
he says it's going to do.
Right. It doesn't have any of the effects that he says it would. Now he's going to go, oh, wait a minute. No, it was just a first draft. It's just kidding. Come on, man. What the hell is that? Even for a politician, that's slimy.
It's slimy on a human level. It really is.
Yeah. So anyway, they rolled it back temporarily, and it is really important to stress the fact that this is temporary. It will be back.
So while they're on break, and when they say on break, it just means that they're not showing up to work.
Yeah. Which is
kind of like what they do
what they do the rest of the year. Yeah.
I should clarify, we do have really good friends in the State House. That
We do
really
have
great
some.
work.
Yeah.
It is fairly fun to lump them together and just
I'm going to admit to have
collectively
being a
crap
little
on them
bit
as a group.
soured on the whole, let's
It's
treat
hard not to
everybody
be.
with respect thing.
It's hard not to be.
So anyway,
But this is when they're going through and figuring out, like, this is the rehuddle and figuring out, all right, what's the bare minimum we got to do?
yeah.
What's the least ground we got to give up to
jam
get
this
something
thing through? Yeah.
Because now they're out over their skis. They've promised the world to the anti-gun crowd.
Yeah.
And now if they
They let
deliver
'em write a bill
nothing,
for 'em.
that's a
Right.
loss to them.
So now they have to deliver something.
They gotta-
Oh God, anything.
They got to get something. So, my personal thought is this is when they pare it down to probably what they really wanted.
Which is ghost guns with LE carve outs, probably,
whatever.
stuff
But
like that.
This is when they put in what they really want, and then they come out and say, "Oh, well, we listened to the people, and we
Yeah.
we took all the
Yes.
information in, and to be
We
fair to everybody,
saw.
here's the bill that we're presenting to you."
This
and
is
it's
what we really meant, folks. Yeah, okay.
like
Take that and jam it up your anyway.
it's like bad negotiating 101. Oh, just aim really high and then work your way back to your number. It's like,
So anyway, that's the status of the bill. You went to an event last week now, and I'm glad you went. So you went to a round table in Douglas.
oh yes. There
Tell
was
us about that.
a legislative roundtable. So Whitensville Fish and Game Club, it's out in Douglas, had it was put on by Matt Burbank. It was coordinated and hosted with Whitensville Fish and Game, Dave Virgilis of Pioneer Arms. Fantastic store. Met and talked with the owners, Keith and Nathan. Awesome people.
Cool.
Get out to Whitensville. Support their
Pioneer
business. Buy a
Arms
T-shirt. Buy a
is-
gun.
Pioneer Arms is in Whitensville.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So they pulled their resources and put this event together at Whitensville Fish and Game Club in Douglas, and they got some speakers in.
Yeah, so it was legislators from that area. So Senator Ryan Fatman, Representative Michael Soter, and Representative Joseph McKenna came and did an old school style meeting with the people.
Like a town hall meeting.
Hey, here's what's going on. Here's where we're at. Here's what we think.
Which is
Open
like
it up for Q&A.
kind
have
of
it back and
refreshing.
forth.
Kind of refreshing
know.
because they actually meant what they said during this thing.
Legislation with representation.
What a
kind of how it's supposed to work.
What a concept.
Of the people, by the people. They're spending time with the people that they represent.
So how did it go? How many people were in the room?
I couldn't get a great count. I mean, there were people coming in and going and asking questions. So I would probably put it close to 100 over the
Right on.
whole evening.
Okay. Right on. That's good.
Absolutely fantastic. they're looking at doing other events like this. So Whitensville Fish and Game is part of the Worcester County League of Sportsmen.
Okay.
And that they're looking at doing this around other clubs. So if you're a member of a club that's under the
league,
as a part of
The
that Worcester County League of
Yep.
Sportsmen, definitely get in touch with those people.
That'd be great.
Help set that stuff up. But yeah,
So,
they each
tell us
gave,
about the room. I mean, good energy. It was like, put us in the room with you, because I wasn't there. I wish I had been able to go.
full of salt of the earth Second Amendment people, and people in business suits, people in t-shirts and jeans.
Everybody there for the common purpose, right?
Yeah,
Good.
to protect and preserve our rights and
Good
talk
energy
about
in the room.
That was fantastic. All the representatives kind of did a little bit of a kind of opening speech.
Yep.
What they know about the bill, where they're at, what's happened so far. And this was right after the closed door meetings as well.
Oh, the famous
So-
closed door meeting and yeah.
Yeah,
Yep,
so
we heard all about that.
especially right on the heels of that, people got in touch with Goal, let us know kind of how the general gist of how things went.
So these guys, the reps anyway, Soder and McKenna were actually part of that closed door meeting, yes?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, just giving everybody an update on what the meeting was and what it wasn't. First and foremost,
Yeah.
It wasn't a secret vote. It wasn't a secret ballot. It was them getting together and essentially having the family meeting, saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, what the hell is going on here?"
Well,
Like all of our
Day in
phones,
his-
all of our phones are blowing up. All of our emails are blowing up.
what the hell are you thinking?
What is this? And that's the general consensus was they were trying to explain away and
Oh, no,
allay
it
the
doesn't
fears.
actually.
It doesn't do
Oh,
this. It doesn't do that. And
The people from Bloomberg that wrote this bill told me that none of that is actually true.
yeah, that and part of it too is this is just a fear mongering by gun rights organizations.
Yeah, Goal
and-
is misrepresenting the bill.
Yeah.
All 140 pages of it.
So our name got dragged into it as far as we're misrepresenting what they're trying to do and
right.
smear their good name for just trying to make the
Right,
world
they're
a safer place.
Think of the children. Yeah.
Yeah, so they ended up with more questions than answers. They, the decisions were made by the people who get to make those decisions of, these things are going to be tabled, this is going to be put off and delayed, and we'll rewrite, and we'll
Good. Yeah. Yep.
start working their way through the amendments.
So their report on the energy that was in the closed door meeting, right, was one of general negative reaction towards the bill. Like, what the hell are you trying to pull here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's some people that are, there's 30-something people that signed on to it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there
there's
are
32 co-sponsors.
there
of
are
this thing.
positive voices in that room, and there are people that just genuinely, say, hey, this is fine, whatever.
I
we'll
would
sign off
challenge
on it.
any one of those 32 people to actually describe to me what's in the bill, including Day, for crying out loud. He doesn't even know what's in it. So
some of the people, they really do agree with everything that's in this bill.
yeah, they want everything shut down. Yeah, they're like, yes, anti-2A rights.
But by and
Sounds
large,
good.
especially,
So, anyway,
and then even for people that are semi-friendly to the Second Amendment,
yeah, pulled them into our side a little bit. And even from what I've heard, and I wasn't at the meeting with you, but from what I've heard from legislators, even people who are not traditionally on our side were looking at it and going, what the hell is, what is this?
but even pro-gun, some of the pro-gun folks were saying, hey, this bar's law, there's no stone left unturned by this. You don't even have law enforcement carve-outs to carry off duty.
Right. And everybody gets law enforcement carve-outs.
Well, case in point, there was that suspected school shooting
Yeah.
in Sutton. And
Yep.
there was an off-duty police officer,
responded,
either
yeah.
at the school, on their way to school, I forget the
respond-
exact
yeah.
detail,
Yep.
but was there on site and had a firearm and responded.
Guess what?
And under
That
this new
guy-
bill, that
Yeah.
guy would be charged with felonies.
He would have been a felon.
That's it. Game over.
It's yeah. So I mean, the important thing is that the legislatures realize that.
Right.
That,
So
that's one of the millions of quote unquote unintended consequences of this garbage.
So, our friends in the legislature aren't going to vote for this, or they're saying that they're not going to vote for it.
Right. But the Democrats, let's be honest,
A lot of
the other
people are
side
trying
has
to figure out how to amend the bill, and
amend it to what? Like everything below an act should be deleted. Let's start amending it that way.
well, hey, wishful thinking. But start adding the amendments and changing the language and doing the carve-outs and doing all the things,
Yeah. None of the above shall apply to Massachusetts residents.
Yeah. Rules for thee, but not for me.
Yeah. Overall, it's obviously it's not dead. This whole thing, as we know, we belabored the point with Jim and John and Mike and, Toby and all the other dozens of people, hundreds of people that we've talked to. This is obviously a post, Bruin temper tantrum, basically, right?
Yeah.
Most of the other states are just fine with Bruin, except for the 6 that got their wee-wees slapped, Massachusetts being one of them. So this is a big temper tantrum. Like, fine, we can't have suitability or restrictions on our licenses, then we're going to take all of your gun rights away. And it's basically what they're trying to do.
Yep. The big point driving home from this whole meeting.
Yeah.
So if I had to wrap up the final takeaway,
yeah,
is your voices are being heard. They are aware of the outrage in the firearms community. And the general consensus is that part of this delay tactic is to let people feel like they win and calm down.
They want to let some of the air out.
Yeah, they want to, ease the tension a little bit. So now that they can slide in.
No, we're listening. Everybody calm down and go home.
They want to amend this so they can still get their win. They want to grab a couple of things and, Day looks good because he got his thing passed. Mariano looked good because he got his thing in.
But
so none of them have to wash that egg off their face.
But no matter what they pass, it's going to be garbage.
I talked to all three of them. It's like, hey, the answer's no for me.
Yeah, right. No matter what.
Out of sheer principle, I don't care what they put on that piece of paper. If it's not a complete erasing of mass firearms law, then
an act, abjectly apologizing to the people of Massachusetts for trying to cram this crap down their throat.
Yeah,
I'll sign that.
On sheer principle alone, this entire bill was done in bad faith, and the answer for me is a wholehearted no.
We're sorry.
But there were a lot of great questions from the audience about the legislative process, about what they can do, what they can keep doing, what's effective, and some of those suggestions are being acted upon now.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the questions that came up, and I see this all the time, is why not just file a lawsuit? Like, why not file a suit with the Supreme Court and just get this overturned?
Right, on social media all the time. Yes. Belabor that on social media, the forums, Facebook, everywhere. They're like, why doesn't Gold just file a lawsuit?
We'll answer this. We'll clarify this a little bit. In order for you to file a lawsuit, there has to be a law. So
right,
you can't
file a lawsuit.
This doesn't even have a bill number yet; it's a docket number.
Right. You can't essentially strike down a law that doesn't exist yet. That's not
as much as they tried to shove through a first draft. It really is technically like their first draft.
Because it's not actually a law yet. You can't. Yeah. If you take this to court, all the Massachusetts government has to do is step up and say, not a law.
Yeah.
Case dismissed. Goodbye.
It's something. It's something we're generally talking about.
Yeah, you cannot strike down a law that doesn't exist yet.
So, A, the law doesn't exist yet for us to even challenge, and then B, once it does go into place, you have to find someone that's harmed by the law, which means someone
has to have standing. Yeah.
Everyone has to suffer a little bit, and then someone has to suffer huge to even have standing to file the lawsuit.
Somebody's got to be a test case.
And then, as we saw with Warman v. Healy, we know that we're fighting essentially an uphill battle all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And then you can get there, and then they just don't grant you writ.
After years of work and effort in litigation and millions of dollars spent, you finally get to the Supreme Court, and there's a very overwhelming possibility. In fact, the odds favor that they'll just say, "Nah, we're not going to hear it."
They're not. If they don't hear it for one reason or another, and then you get stuck with the opinion of the latest court.
Right. In which case is going to be bad.
Is most likely not going to be in our favor.
Right. And that's going to stand. That's going to stand.
But also to put it into perspective, so, the bump stock ban.
Oh, yes.
That went into effect back in March of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of lawsuits were filed immediately after that went into effect.
4 years ago.
None of them have made it to the Supreme Court yet. Closest to getting that before the Supreme Court is in the Fifth Circuit, Cargill v. Garland.
Yep.
And that's like kind of being kept afloat on this whole idea of the rule of lenity, about ambiguity in law.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Essentially a legal version of like tie goes to runner, like
Yep,
tie goes to the people.
Right. That's the concept it means, right? It's if there is a tie that it's...
Yeah, so we're talking this law went into effect nationwide
in 2019.
In 2019. So it went into effect in districts that are very pro-Second Amendment, and it still hasn't made it to the Supreme Court yet. We'd be fighting an uphill battle on the legal side. And it doesn't mean that we wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But the idea of letting that law go into place first, letting someone get harmed by it, and then living under that oppressive...
that
tyranny
situation for however long it takes.
Half a decade before you even have a chance to get it heard, and then it might not even get heard, and then you're stuck with a case precedent that's now you got to overcome that hill.
And then if it does get heard, right, it's going to be heard narrowly. The Supreme Court doesn't say, we're just going to slap down this entire 140-page law. They're going to say, okay, well, you need to come with us with something that's narrow. So,
you have to come with
one aspect of this garbage will be challenged and shot down, but not the whole thing.
Yeah. You have to challenge it on a constitutional basis on something that they haven't done yet. And I know like people are probably ripping their hair out going, yeah, but Bruin, and they're 100% correct.
Yes.
They're 100% correct. This whole bill flies entirely in the face of hundreds of years of constitutional law, Supreme Court rulings.
And Ron Mariano and all of them just basically flipped off the Supreme Court and said, your Constitution means nothing to me. I wonder what Paul Clement's doing these days.
And then on top of that, what do they say? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. The money it takes to shoot this bill down and kill it before it gets to law is so much less.
This discussion too. Yeah. They're like, just let it pass. It'll get crushed by the Supreme Court. Maybe in 10 years at a cost of all of this stuff.
In 10 years,
and I'm like,
and probably on the low end, $500,000.
Yeah. And that's
on the low end.
And let's be quite honest. That's presuming that the Supreme Court is even friendly to us in 10 years. So I say, the best time to shoot down a crappy law is well before it becomes a crappy law. That's what we're doing right now.
That is what gold does.
Yeah,
that's what we're here for.
Yeah,
is to keep these things from happening.
Is it an
uphill battle? You betcha.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we always win? Nope.
Certainly not. But somebody has to put up some sort of resistance. I mean, Jesus, there's 2 dozen. Let's break down the legislature.
There's
like
right
2 dozen non-Democrats in there, which really doesn't even matter because it's a mix of
we don't do the left-right thing, but let's break it down.
But if we had to look at let's just say pro Second Amendment people in the legislature versus anti, we are severely outnumbered.
Beyond any hope of meaningful opposition.
Yeah. We're outnumbered in the legislature. We're outnumbered in the population. We're outnumbered in the culture here.
All of the constitutional offices in Massachusetts are run by Democrats. The Democrats, all right, not doing the left-right thing. Second Amendment is bipartisan, okay. But by and large, Democratic Party is known for being, less friendly to gun rights. The Massachusetts legislature, the general court has 200 members in it. Okay. 160 reps, right? 40 senators. On the representative side, the Republicans have 25 seats out of 160. On the Senate, the Republicans have 3 out of 40. Okay. There is no chance that even if every single Republican and a bunch of the Democrats got together,
party line kind of vote on a national level.
Yeah, if this was a straight party line vote, there is no meaningful political opposition.
What's the saddest tragedy of that whole thing? Libertarians have 0 seats.
Zero.
The people that just say, leave me alone and I'll leave you alone.
The people that actually believe in freedom have nothing.
I've been listening to those books, man. Got a lot of time in the car.
Good man. Good. Come over to the gold side.
But I mean, but this bill really does. To me, this shows exactly what this organization does.
Yeah,
is the Speaker of the House said, "Hey, if this wasn't a coordinated effort, we would have slammed this thing through yesterday."
So our first draft, we were just kidding.
So for the people that say, "Hey, file lawsuits." Just picture where you would be with 0 resistance for the last 30 years.
Yeah. If there was no goal here, where would we be? And naturally we're goal groupies and all that stuff, but It's the truth, man. It's the truth. There's no opposition in the state house, so the opposition has to come from the people.
That's why. But that's why I joined Goal. That's why I volunteered for their stuff. That's why I started working on the board of directors. And
yep, same here. I believe in the mission,
and it's been fantastic around the office.
Oh yeah,
across the state, going to clubs, going to Whitensville, seeing all the people. It's certainly a community.
Yeah,
and to see everybody jump on board and
it has been
pull the sled together.
Amazing,
seeing what can be done.
The Goal Board of Directors released a letter, kind of as a thank you to people that stepped up. Yeah, it's been really like gratifying to see people jump up and come up with new ideas and say, "Hey, I'm going to print up a bunch of signs and get them around, and all I want you to do is make a donation to Goal." Awesome. That's grassroots, man. That's like, hey, we're going to go and do push cards and hand them out in front of the grocery store. Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's grassroots. That's how this works. It's not, hey, I'm going to send a check to Goal and let them take care of it. That's not grassroots, man.
Send the check.
Yeah. Well, sure. Send the check.
We have to go through the financials and look at,
Yes. Send the check, but also be loud, right? We need, look, we always need money.
The best part of
advocacy, loud people.
Advocacy is done face to face.
Yep.
It's you talking to your neighbors, it's talking to your friends. And that's, when you have representatives that come out and openly tell you, not only call your representative, call other representatives. They don't have to represent you for your legal voicemail.
No. They have a vote too.
What you're voting for goes against my rights, so I have a dog in this fight, and I will call you and tell you what I think about it.
Yeah.
And
do it.
The online trolling.
Not only is it fun.
I'm telling you, I've seen a lot of communications from people in the State House that are very appreciative of the online snarking
that is
going on. And it's truthfully, it's, there's the old school way of doing things. And I truly believe that a handwritten letter just carries a certain kind of weight to it that can't be replicated.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But a comment or a reply that goes viral and gets 20,000 likes, retweets, or X's or whatever they call them now.
Whatever the hell they are. Yeah, whatever it is this week.
Whatever you kids are on.
The interwebs.
Those things can go viral. That can be seen by a lot more people. So, if you follow these people follow them on Facebook, Instagram, whatever they're on, and just troll.
And you guys, know who you are. Get your grandkids in there.
Nothing illegal. Don't threaten anybody. Don't do anything silly.
Right.
But let them know.
Make their lives miserable.
Like, oh, hey, look at this great thing I did for my district. And it's like, oh, hey, look how you're trying to take away their civil rights too.
That's right. Guilty as charged.
Get in there.
Yeah. Yeah, get in the fight. Stay in the fight, guys. This is
they're banking on everybody going, hey, we won, did 2 weeks of great work.
Yeah, so we're gonna go back to our lives now, and then they're gonna come back with this crap in the fall.
Keep it up, keep it going. Just hassle and hound them every chance you get. Online, hey, if they're showing up at an event and they want to cut a ribbon somewhere,
make them like dread going out in public.
Yeah, they should know. Let them know who you are.
There it is. The fight's not over, folks. Please, please, please keep up the pressure. This is coming back. But what we've seen so far has just been absolutely astoundingly amazing and positive from the community. So well done, but keep it up.
The people that have been messaging the office and leaving comments for Mike and Angie and John and Jim and thanking them for the work that they're doing. Yeah. That goes a really long way and kind of help keeping the spirits up and keeping the morale up. And
sure. That's important.
So
that's
hugely appreciative of that as well.
The people at the office have been doing yeoman's work. I mean, they've been, staying up all night and coordinating people, taking phone calls day and night. And even the, hey, great job, guys. Like you said, that goes a long way towards keeping spirits up in the face of all this. So from us anyway, good job, guys.
That's it for today. Thanks for listening in. Be sure to subscribe to the Goal Podcast and check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Gun Owners Action League or on Twitter at Goal Update.
To join Goal, visit goal.org and click the Join Renew button on the top of the homepage.
If you have a topic you think we should cover, there's something going on in your club or town, if you have a question for the mailbag, or you want to question my authority on revolvers being obsolete, I double dare you. Email us, shoot us an email at goalpodcast at goal.org. GOALPODCAST at goal.org.
The Goal Podcast is a production of Gun Owners Action League of Massachusetts. The views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of Goal, its staff, or affiliates.